So getting the TrailTech X2 Halogen light installed in this EC300, and pretty excited about it because 70 watts of light, which I only had a 35 watt bulb before. TrailTech sends a couple mounting options for this light. Of course, the upper mounts are just these rubber mounts right here. There's one on each side, very durable, very well made. The whole back of the assembly is just all sealed and looks like really good quality stuff. So I'm pretty happy. Anyway, so how do you mount it? There's a couple ways. These can go, I guess, sort of like the KTM style. These can go into the bottom of the light. You can screw these in and then drill holes in the fender and then drop these in, so that gives it some stability like this. Now, it doesn't give you any adjustability though. So the other option they sent was this little bracket right here. This bracket, if I read the directions right, is engineered to go for bikes that have fenders where the bolts mount up through the bottom of the fender into the bottom of the triple clamp. And so those bolts would go through these slots here, and then that would give you some adjustability. Well, you can see the GasGas fender is very tall right here, and it's way the heck back there, and they're also way too wide. So the bolts on the GasGas fit almost right on these edges here of this, so that wasn't going to work. Thought about it for a little bit and decided just to flip this around. It won't be as cosmetic, but there's two sets of holes underneath here, two forward and two back. And so I thought, well, I'll just use the forward holes, put this in like this, those forward holes, and I'll just mount it like that, drill a couple holes in the fender, small as holes as possible so I don't make an extra breaking or a fracture point or a weak stress point. Try to minimize that with the smallest holes possible. And then that'll give me some adjustability. Then I'll be able to move it forward and back if I need to. And so what I did to adjust it was I just put this in place, took some duct tape, put it over it like that, went outside in the dark, ran it around for 10 or 15 minutes or so, played with the adjustment with the duct tape, moved it forward, moved it back, tried the high beam, tried the low beam, and it seems to be, that seemed to be the spot right there, so I went ahead and marked that with a Sharpie. And then I'll just drill the holes right in the middle, and that way I'll be able to adjust a little bit up or a little bit down if I need to. So it won't be as cosmetic as or as clean as mounting this behind where you can't see any of that, but it's a working enduro bike, so I'd rather have some adjustability and function over perfectly beautiful fashion. I was a little worried at first. The company I bought this from said it probably won't work with the 80 watt stock 80 watt stator on this EC300, and so when I plugged it in, tried out the low beam, and it worked fine, and then clicked the high beam, which is both bulbs, so 35 watt and 35 watt, and both make 70, and the engine didn't affect the idle. So I revved the engine, it didn't affect the beam brightness, it didn't get brighter as I revved the engine, it didn't dim. So I don't know, and I'm a third owner, so I really don't know if this stator's been rewound or if it is a stock 80 watt stator and it's still doing fine. So the bike ran fine. I rode it for probably 15 or 20 minutes, all different light positions, and at idle, the bike idled fine with both bulbs on, full bright, 70 watts. Rev the engine and it doesn't change any. So seems to be working out for this bike. I'm excited about it. So I'm going to go ahead and drill these holes and put in a couple just maybe M5 and some lock nuts on the back side, washers on each end, of course, and try to drill small holes possible and give me some adjustability. So very excited about this TrailTech. Okay, wiring up this TrailTech X2 Halogen headlight on the GasGas. GasGas wiring has just a couple wires that come up here to the front, so they fed the old headlight. These were the wires that fed the switch, a solid yellow and a solid purple. And so they went to this old Hebo light that came with the bike to a two-position switch on and off. So just took those connectors, cut them off, and then stripped the wires. And the other two wires that come off this, so that goes to the switch, the power goes back down and then splits to the headlight and the taillight. And this was the headlight switch here. It's a yellow wire with a green tracer on both sides, and then a purple wire. And so I just went ahead and I left those in. I'm not going to take them out. I just went ahead and capped them so they wouldn't be an electrical hazard. Now, as far as the wiring goes here, yellow wire is the hot wire on this bike. It's the one carrying voltage when the bike's running. And so I called TrailTech just to make sure I was doing this right with this AC system. And here's the bike right here. And the wiring comes up. Now this is just the yellow, solid yellow wire. That's the power wire, and then the purple wire that went to the original switch. So I took the yellow wire, ran it to their red wire, that's number 6, that has the fuse. And so that's the power lead. And soldered that. I just soldered all my connections so I don't have to worry about them coming apart or getting corroded or whatever. And then the purple wire, the other side of the original switch wire, connected to this number 2, which is the accessory wire, and it can be used to power your taillight, grip heaters, whatever. And so I just went ahead and ran that back to the purple wire, connected the purple wire to the blue wire here, and that completed that circuit. Now, then the ground wire is the black wire right here coming off, and of course you can ground it anywhere to the frame, but I just went ahead and grounded it to this bolt right here. On top of that holds the catch tank, the radiator catch tank, and it's a perfect ground. It works great. These two wires, 5 and let's see, it's number 4 and number 5, the kill wire, and there's another ground wire here. The 2 wires that came off my original kill switch right here, which I think I still have, I just cut those and then spliced both of those into one of each of those into one of each of these. So then just spliced them and soldered them, and it's a perfectly works perfect. That's all I need to complete the kill switch. Now, don't make the mistake I did. If you get this kit, put the light on, was so excited, get it working, and then I realized there's nothing there to hold my cables, my brake cable and my Voyager cable. So I went ahead and ordered these from Motorcycle Superstore, brake line guide kits. I didn't know which one I'd want, this IMS one or this Pro Taper one, so I ordered both. It was like 20 bucks in free shipping, but I thought that would take care of it. And then I opened the box and dug around some more and found that this is the cable guide that came with the light that actually mounts back here and tucks up away and guides the cables. So I've got some extra cable guides if anybody needs any. Let's talk about how to install this. Removal entailed removing this strap, disconnecting the connector. But once you have the cable guide in place, that has 2 screws that hold it, and then a split in the cable guide, so you'd have to take that off too to actually take the whole light off and remove it from the bike. So right now I'm just making sure that it's going to slide okay. The important thing is to not have any zip ties down here below the cable guide, because when as the suspension compresses, all this is going to press up, this wiring is going to go up and slide up here, and you don't want those catching on here and twisting your cable or maybe tearing or causing some damage. Also, there's a spot right here that you don't want any zip ties. See how the cable runs up through the cable guide, and also it actually runs behind this plastic tab here. So make sure there's no zip ties below that also. That'll catch as these cables slide up through. Make sure the zip ties are on the top. So I'm just going to see how low I can put a zip tie here. I put one. This was just kind of a temporary thing. It's a small one. We'll get out of the way. I had the suspension shortened by Less Tenuous Racing because I have pretty short legs, and I like to be able to touch the ground. So the maximum suspension stroke is going to be, I have 11 inches right here, and that's full travel. So he did lower it 1 inch, and so that's 11 inches. And so I want to make sure that my next lowest piece, or my next lowest zip tie, is not shorter than 11 inches, not up here somewhere. So it'll be right here or further down.